Every day you do yourself an injustice on LinkedIn. Every day you're losing B2B business because of your under-optimized profile on LinkedIn. And today I'm going to show you how to build a super impressive LinkedIn profile that will change your B2B business. Hi, my name's Deepak Shukla of Pearl Lemon, and in association with Semrush, today I'm going to show you how you can build a high-performing and highly converting LinkedIn profile. I'm about to change things for you. And if you haven't yet, do go back and check out our original video on YouTube on how you can generate up to 10,000 views a month on LinkedIn. Just search LinkedIn views and you'll find it, or it will be attached to a playlist with this video. So without further ado, let's get into it. And what I'll take you through now are the 3 key areas that are important to building a highly converting B2B LinkedIn profile. So the first thing we're going to be covering is, why do profiles even matter? If you care about your business and your brand in 2020 and 2021, then building and having a powerful LinkedIn profile is supremely important. That's the first thing we're going to be covering. The second thing that we're going to be covering is building highly converting content on your LinkedIn profile. Whether we're talking about the actual description, whether we're talking about your headlines, whether we're talking about your work experience, as well as a few other really interesting things, content really matters. And the third thing we're going to be covering is the power of images on your LinkedIn profile. So we're talking, of course, your profile picture, we're talking about your actual profile cover, and we're talking about a couple of other things that you might not actually be explicitly thinking about. And whilst you're here, if you can, please do like, subscribe, leave a comment with what you think about the video at any time throughout the video. We will always respond. That would be absolutely amazing. If you're already even thinking and searching on YouTube about anything to do with LinkedIn, it probably is for B2B reasons. I'm sure you already know that LinkedIn is the #1 B2B networking platform in the world by far. It absolutely is. What you probably don't know when it comes to the actual sales process, when involving any of the actual phone calls, face-to-face meetings, Zoom, Skype, WhatsApp, whatever it might be, what's hugely important is the power of 3. So when someone is in an actual process with you, there are 3 key things that they look at, which is number 1, do they trust the company? So in my case, it would be, do they trust Pearl Lemon? Number 2 is, do they trust the product? So in Pearl Lemon's case, it would be, do they trust the SEO agency? And the third and the final thing, where most people actually often fall down within the business, is, do they trust the individual who is positioning his service? So in that case, it'd be, do you trust Deepak Shukla? Now, where is the first place that you'll look when you're thinking about the actual trust factors of an individual whom you've never met before? Comment if you've already worked it out. Yes, it's absolutely LinkedIn. Which brings me on to point number 2 of why your profile matters. LinkedIn is ultimately the premier place in the world if you're thinking about building your actual brand in 2020. So much like I've got my pillow in the real world, in the virtual world, LinkedIn is the de facto place where your potential client, Mr. Prospect, will be looking up to find out who Deepak Shukla is, who anybody is who's positioning a service or a product within your business. So if you're looking at high performance, ultimately selling, you need to be on LinkedIn and you need to have an absolutely fantastic profile. And of course, the final thing to say with why profiles matter, LinkedIn is ultimately the equivalent to the World Cup. And you need to make sure within your business, whether you are the actual B2B sales rep, whether you are the actual founder, that you, as well as your entire company, have massively optimized profiles on LinkedIn so that you can be the best performing team in the World Cup that is the game of LinkedIn. So that is why profiles matter. massively matter, and personal profiles matter more than company profiles in 2020 on LinkedIn. So guys, I hope you enjoyed part 1, why profiles matter so much when you're in the B2B space. As we said, if you're enjoying this video, I would love if you did leave a like, subscribe to the channel, as well as comment. And now we're going to be moving on to part 2, which is why building killer content for your profile is so important. So we're going to be covering the areas such as your actual profile summary or description. We're also going to be covering your actual work experience descriptions, and then we're also going to delve into the space of written recommendations. So without further ado, I'm going to start sharing my screen. Let's get into it. What I want to share with you when we go through the area of killer content is talk about your actual profile description, talk about your actual written company descriptions, and then of course talk about your recommendations. So let's get into it. So first of all, as you can see from my actual about, the first key and obvious thing is that I've taken the time to fill in my complete description. There's still a surprising amount of people that aren't actually leaving their descriptions in the summary section, as you can see here. The second thing that for me is really critical when you're looking at your actual summary is that people are generally busy. So you can, in fact, add some structure to your actual LinkedIn profile. So the way that you add structure in this summary section is, notice that I'm using these lines here, these lines here, and these lines here. So these pipes form a natural segmentation of your actual LinkedIn summary. So you've got the what I do today, then you've got personal accomplishments, and then you've got other spaces that become important. The other thing is that it's really important to ultimately demonstrate the actual areas of success that you've had in your life. So really do think about anything that's quirky, anything that's interesting, anything that you might consider to not be that impressive does not necessarily mean that others don't consider it to be impressive. Whether it's cooking, whether it's programming, whether it's the performing arts, multiple languages, whatever it may be, please do list your actual series of accomplishments. These are things that have directly led me to getting a TEDx talk, because I had someone who reached out to me and had a look at the things that I'd achieved, and they were interested in working with me. Really more to do with that than it was for anything else. You can notice, and this is optional, but I do recommend it of course, that emojis really do make things pop. So now let's move on to the space of your actual work experience. And here's another interesting part for me. The reality is that most people are most interested in getting the description of the company that you work or with or work for at the moment. So as you can see for my SEO director element, I've taken points to list ultimately the key achievements, okay? So that's the first thing that I think that's really important, to talk in terms of achievements of yourself within the business, and as well as we move through the other descriptions, to keep it succinct, okay? So it is not the case that my job at, for example, Meet My Tutor was solely working as the SEO director, but it was definitely a proportion of the work that I did. But given that I am in the SEO space now, potentially much like yourselves, potentially you might be in the LinkedIn space, then it does make sense to frame your actual previous work experience by accentuating, by focusing upon the things that relate to what you do today. So that's the second key thing to really thinking about when you're looking at your work experience. And the final thing to say is take heed of the mistakes that I've made. So where you've worked for yourself and you've got your own business, do add a company LinkedIn page so you get the image here. In this instance, I've not used it and I've not had the company page, and it really does stick out. The next part of it is, as we go through the profile, is looking at your actual recommendations. Now, when someone is making a purchasing decision about yourself, they will actually look at some of the recommendations that you've received. And a clever and practical way to actually generate recommendations is, it can of course be from a direct client, but number two, it can also be a personal reference. Number two, it can be an employee reference. And then number four, it can be someone who's contracted with the business or interned with the business. Any of those variations actually qualify. They are the key areas that you need to think about when you're looking at LinkedIn for building actual content that converts. Think in terms of achievements, think in terms of the personal and the professional achievements that you've had, and do make sure you're filling in all of the LinkedIn company pages and you're underlining your actual profile in context of whatever it is you're working on today. So I hope you guys enjoyed part 2 about how to build killer content for your profile. And now we're going to be moving into the actual final part, which is part 3, the importance of images and actual videos on your LinkedIn profile. And here we go without further ado. You've already noticed, I'm sure, some of the images as well as some of the other bits and pieces that I've got. This smiley face that I've got right here. It's a small thing that makes a big difference, and I've combined two things into one within the same image. So the first thing that I've got there is, of course, my picture, and you can even see, without seeing my mouth, that I've got a great big smile on, and I've even got the same t-shirt on. Don't worry, I did wash. Most people, if you just do a search, do you notice Vabab has got an awesome actual smile? Ross has got a smile. This is a great smile. But for the most part, there's a lot of people that get this simple thing wrong. And I'm going to search the other Deepak Shuklas in the world. So as you can see, this is smiling, and we'll come to the second element. This is not that clear. This is not that clear. This is clear, but the face is slightly cut off. This is off center. This is out of sort. So there's some examples of things that are important. So as you can see, I'm looking directly at the camera. I am off center, but I'm angling myself in. And the final thing I'd like to add with that in mind is that I've got a BBC, for those that know it in the UK, my target audience, a BBC microphone there. So this is something that I think stands as a little bit of social proof. You could arguably just go with a regular image of yourself smiling. It's what I've often done before. The second thing is, look at my actual cover image. So it gives the company name, it gives our actual call to action, double organic traffic in 90 days, and it says award-winning SEO agency in London. And what you'll already see is that he's got something very similar happening. He's got a big smile going on, which is fantastic, and he's got these great calls to action. He's got these great actual images here. Can you see them? Right? And then as we go further down, there's more here, featured on Entrepreneur, featured on Inadu, and there's more even here. As you can see, when you look down a profile, it looks visually very appealing because we've got these calls to action here that demonstrate ultimately expertise. So do with images and videos, as simple as it sounds, not everybody and most of us don't do it, make sure that these sections are all filled in. You've got an image that does make sense, and you've got a profile cover, and already you'll be ahead of the game. I hope that makes sense. Catch you in the next part. We looked at number 1, why profiles matter so much in 2020 or even 2021. We looked at part 2, why building killer content is so important at drawing the reader in. And then we looked at point number 3, which was the importance of images as well as videos. Why that makes all of the difference in today's MTV popcorn generation. Whew, we made it. You made it. Well done. Comment, give us a like, do subscribe, check me out, Deepak Shukla. This is Pearl Lemon and Semrush talking about LinkedIn. See ya for part 3. Make sure you stay tuned.